Chapter 7. Alice Tries to Believe. For the next couple of days, I made it a point not to be home at 5 o'clock. I gave Shadow his dinner early, at mid-afternoon sometimes. It didn't seem fair that he should suffer because I was having a quarrel with someone else. But when I made a point of being home, with the lights lit and music on, offering every sign I could of my presence, Samwise still didn't come. A week went by, then two. I was dying to talk to somebody about his, and at the same time, I didn't know what I could possibly say. Okay, wait, I'm confused by that. I was dying to talk to someone about his, and at the same time, oh my god, this book needs so much more editing. Okay. Then Sally called. She was in the neighborhood shopping and wondered if I could meet for coffee. We picked a little spot at the corner of 5th and California. It was never very crowded, and the coffee was good. They also had cookies that Sally loved. She was already at a table, and the cookie half gone, when I arrived. I ordered my latte and joined her. "So what brings you out into the avenues?" I asked. "Oh, nothing much," she said. "The Sprout," as Sally refers to her 8-year-old son, "is crazy about some new Asian action figures, and there's a store on Clement I thought might sell them. And of course, I was forced to spend some time at Green Apple." Sally is a great lover of books and bargains. Green Apple has a wide reputation for combining those two categories in ample stacks of fiction and nonfiction, outside the store, in bins, and inside as well. That sounded like a commercial. I pretended to examine the small stack she had acquired. A couple of minutes passed before my coffee came. I took a long sip. "You're quiet," she said. "Really? Maybe I'm tired," I said. "I haven't been sleeping so well." "More sultry dreams?" "No," I said. "None of that." I heard the regret in my voice and hoped she wouldn't notice. "So you're missing the man of your dreams," she said, with that extremely annoying inside of hers. I know, fuck her, right, for being a friend. "I was hoping that maybe with a new real man in your life, the dreams would fade." I took another swallow. She was expecting a response. I knew that, but my eyes were filling up, and my throat was swollen, and I was afraid of what might come out if I opened my mouth. "Oh," she said, "I'm really sorry." "Stop it," I nearly shouted at her. Okay, let me try that again. "Stop it," I nearly shouted at her, just a tear or two squeezing out. "I hate it when you decide what's happened in my life without waiting for me to tell you, and this unsolicited sympathy is really more than I can take right now." "I apologize. I'll just sit here until you want to talk." "That could be a while." "Jack is taking the Sprout to McDonald's on the way to a soccer match. I have all the time in the world." But I didn't hold out for more than a couple of minutes. "Of course you're right," I said. "We've quarreled, and I haven't seen him for weeks now. The real man, not the man of my dreams. Almost a month." Though, of course, it wasn't. It felt that long. "Go ahead, talk." "I'm wondering what you quarreled about. You don't have to say." I struggled to find something that would convey the essence of what happened, without the details, which I felt sure she would find alarming. Heaven knows I was alarmed myself if I thought about it closely. "We were talking about a book, and we got into this argument. But it really wasn't about that. He's a very eccentric fellow. You wouldn't believe some of his ideas about the world. I had been ignoring the problem because, well, he's awfully sweet. And extremely attractive. That too. I liked him a lot," I said, surprised to hear myself say it. So I was willing to ignore some of his strange ideas. but I think it was important to him that I should, well, accept that what he thinks is true. And you couldn't do that. I snorted. His ideas are absurd. No, I couldn't do that. I tried not to let him see exactly what I thought about all of it, but I suppose in the end, he guessed. How often were you seeing him? 4, maybe 5 times a week. A lot. The last time I saw him, it was at my place. I walked out. I didn't even say goodbye. I just lost my temper and stormed off. Well, say what you're thinking. You could call him, Sally said. You could say you're sorry that you walked out on him and that you're ready to talk about it, if he is. I'm not sure that I am. Sorry? Ready to talk about it. What was there to say after all? I wish you could forget about all this cat stuff and just be a man, and maybe we could, be friends? Fall in love? Make love? No, there was no future here. Anyway, I said, I don't know how to reach him. You still don't know where he lives? No, and I don't have a phone number or an email address either. His name was Sam, wasn't it? Sam White, or something like that? Sally's sympathy was morphing into something more assertive now. We could look him up. I hesitated just long enough to make the truth obvious. That's not his real name, she guessed again. I shrugged. You really don't know who he is. She took my hand. Alice, she said. Maybe it's time for me to ask around about finding you a therapist to talk to. Everybody goes a little crazy in middle age, married or not. You feel everything closing in, all the things you haven't done turn up to gloat. But there's no reason to be seeing some man who won't tell you who he is or where you can find him. I know. Then let's go someplace fabulous for dinner and celebrate your return to full single status. She said, You're better off without him. And of course, she was right. But I didn't want to be without him. It had been scary at the start, but once I got past that, it had been rather romantic, too. Not just the way he looked. Oh my God, run-on sentence. Not just the way he looked, but the way he was with me, protecting me from David, staring deeply into my eyes. The fond look he'd get sometimes, as if I was just the prettiest, brightest, most adorable human being he'd ever seen. The man of my dreams. And I suppose that longing for romance explains what I did the next time he showed up, which was just a couple of days after my visit with Sally. It was just like my earlier dreams, but with a different ending. I felt the weight on the bed, the hand caressing my arm, but when I opened my eyes, Sam was there, leaning on one elbow and looking down at me, and he didn't disappear, even when I blinked several times. I didn't mean to wake you, he said. It was wildly inappropriate, his sneaking in the middle of the night. But I was so happy to see him, I didn't care. Oh, I hope this is it. I hope this is it. I missed you, I heard myself say. He smiled. I missed being with you like this, he said. That last day was very upsetting, learning what I learned. I let my anger fly out against you when I should have looked for the scratching post. When you left, I was sorry, but you were out the door so fast. I remembered my downstairs neighbor standing in her doorway looking fresh from the boudoir and the story she told. You left too. I was afraid you would never come back. I thought maybe if I went outside I would see you, I could follow you. But you didn't. No. I got outside and it was so strange I forgot to look for you. All these years I've watched out the window, wanting to go out, to see where you went and what you did there and who you were with. I've especially wanted to see what's in the park that makes so many people come. So I walked that way. There was a great many short people coming out towards me, all talking at once, making quite a noise. I didn't understand their words. That would be the Chinese people who do Tai Chi on the basketball court. Okay. Perhaps, he said. Anyway, they made such a noise. I found myself somewhat afraid. Then, just when I got my courage together to go further, there were these dogs. Yes, but a gang of them, big and small, barking and leaping. So you climbed the tree. She told you. I nodded. Don't people do that? I never thought. I smiled. It's not the usual thing for a man to do when he runs across a few dogs, but it's not against the law. Well, once I was sure the dogs were gone, I decided to go back upstairs and wait for you, but I couldn't make the gate open, no matter how long I stared. I laughed. Actually, it wasn't very amusing, he went on. I'm afraid I let out quite a squeal, and that did the trick. It did? Your neighbor came to the door, the lady downstairs with the odd-colored hair. I loved him for that. There was a buzzing noise, and the gate gave way. What did Lola say? She asked me if I'd like to come in for coffee while she looked for your key. I followed her inside to be polite. And what did you do inside? She gave me something to drink. It was light brown and had ice in it, and I didn't like the smell. She sat very close to me, and I didn't like her halo. I don't think she's a very happy woman. I asked her, please, to let me go back to your flat. She did. Not right away. She had all sorts of questions. She offered me food. She kept asking me about movies, what it was like to be famous, and what I was doing with you. But I guess she saw at last how uncomfortable I was, and let me go. Let me back in our house. And then I became Shadow again, of course, he said. I waited by the door for you to come home. I was very happy when you did. I see. Clearly the fantasy was part of the man. If I cared about him, if I wanted him to be part of my life, I'd have to live with his vision of himself. And isn't that always true when men and women get together? Some stunning commentary. But there was another issue to be resolved. So why did you stay away? You mean Samwise? All right, why did Sam stay away? All this time, he'd been propped on his elbow. Now he rolled onto his back and looked at the ceiling. I was afraid, he said. You were already angry with me. I figured the lady downstairs wouldn't tell you I'd been outside. You were so anxious not to let me outdoors. I thought you would never forgive me. I thought I would just be Shadow again and just be happy as a cat with a woman who loves him. So you've decided Shadow isn't a slave after all? No, he said. Other people might do that, but not you, not ever. The man of my dreams rolled toward me and met my eyes with that intense gaze of his. You're a very special woman. When I'm a cat, I can see your halo. It's like a miracle, glowing with so many colors. I can't see it now, but I can feel it. My halo, I said. Having fantasies about himself, was one thing, but I didn't want them spilling over onto me. Angels have halos. I'm no angel. All creatures have halos, he said, as though I were a 5-year-old who had forgotten that C followed A and B. At the moment, he said, waving his hand in a rather narrow space between us, we're close enough that our halos are mingling. If I move away, and he rolled towards the edge of the bed, they come apart. I can feel it. He rolled back and looked at me expectantly. I suppose I was sleepy, but I could have sworn I felt the change. See? Maybe. I'm not sure. He rolled onto his back again. I want to stay, he said. Stay this way, the way you call Samwise. I should have seen it coming, but it still stunned me. Being with him was one thing, living together quite another. For all I knew, I was lying comfortably beside a madman who thought he had taken over the personality of my cat and had done God knows what with the original. I felt sudden alarm. I really care about Shadow, I said, and he always disappears when you're around. Is he all right? What have you done with him? But I'm here. He turned to me. Then his face turned dark. You still don't believe me. You still don't believe anything I say. You don't believe in halos. You don't believe that Shadow and I are the same soul. I laid my hand over his on the mattress between us. Let's say I'm not sure what I believe. After all, what you say you did doesn't exactly happen all the time, or at least the newspapers aren't full of stories about cats who suddenly decide to become another species. I understand that now, he said. You thought I was a stranger. That's why you were so afraid at first. I was afraid you would hurt me, I said, neglecting to explain my concerns about my own sanity. And now, you don't seem afraid tonight. I sighed. I'm not afraid. I haven't been afraid of you for a long while. I like you. I like it when you're here. I'd like to spend more time with you, even if you are crazy. Or I am. I'm not crazy, he said. That doesn't happen to cats. Okay. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, he was on his back again. A tear had slipped out of one of those green eyes and traced a curved line down his cheek. While I watched, another followed it. It's not easy being human, he said. Feeling sad like this? His voice was husky. Oh, I thought it would be nice if I were human like you. It'd be easier to talk. We could go places together. You're always going out alone. Not worry when you're away. Being a man would be better. Seemed to me. Thought it'd be simple. Oh my goodness, no, I said. If Shadow were a man, everything would be more complicated. There's more involved when a man and a woman live together than just talking and going places. And people would never believe who you are. People tend to believe things that they can see or smell or touch, things that are supported by scientific evidence, not cats turning into men. It would be hard. The man of my dreams rose up on his elbow again, bent across the space between us, and kissed me softly, just below my ear, and then licked the same spot. My God! So that's the sentence that gets him going then. It would be so hard. Or no, it would be hard. That's so great. It doesn't matter what people believe, he said, his face still so close I could feel the warmth of his breath. Then he pulled away, just far enough that our eyes could meet. I love you so much, he said, with all my heart. But I can't keep playing at being this Samwise. I can do it for the other people, if that's what's important. Not for you. I need you to believe me, to know that it's Shadow who lies beside you now. I wasn't sure what I believed. Why is that font smaller? But I knew what I wanted to believe. I'll try, I said, and although my head still dragged behind, my heart at the moment was really convinced. I'll do my very best. Is that enough? That's enough. He pulled me close, and we lay with our arms around each other. I was very tired, and he must have been too. Good night, Alice, he said. Good night.